I never anticipated that at the age of 64, life would still hold such surprises for me. It was just another ordinary day on the farm, blending seamlessly with all the others. The sun beamed down from a clear sky, warming the fields, while a gentle breeze provided a soothing touch as I carried out my chores. This farm has been my home for most of my life. Since my husband passed away, this place has become my refuge, my comfort zone. Yet, something felt different about today. There was an intangible quality in the air, something I couldn't quite grasp. My nephew Ethan had been visiting for a while now, helping me with the more strenuous tasks and making sure I was taken care of. In his mid-20s, he was a strong, attractive young man with an undeniable charm. Having him around was a breath of fresh air. The laughter and shared meals brought joy back into my routine. I hadn't realized how much I longed for the sound of another person's voice until he showed up. He was consistently attentive and kind, and despite being my nephew, I often found myself stealing glances at him that lingered a bit too long. That day, we were working side by side in the barn, shifting hay bales and tending to the animals. As sweat trickled down his forehead, his shirt clung to his muscular frame. I couldn't help but notice how easily he managed the work, and there was something captivating about the way he moved, confident yet gentle, as he bent down to lift another bale. I found myself admiring his strength and how seamlessly his body worked with the rhythms of nature. A flutter of excitement stirred in my heart, a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. We took a moment to rest, perching on the edge of an old wooden fence that looked out over the fields. The sky transformed into a canvas of pinks and oranges as the sun set, casting a warm glow over everything. Ethan turned to me, his gaze soft and filled with an emotion I couldn't quite identify. "You've accomplished so much here, Aunt Clara," he remarked, his voice deep and sincere. "I honestly don't know how you do it every day." I smiled, a bit shy from the praise. "It's just part of life," I responded, tucking a loose strand of hair behind my ear. "It's what I know." Ethan leaned in a bit closer, his arm brushing against mine. The warmth radiating from him sent a delightful shiver down my spine, and suddenly I became acutely aware of our closeness. His eyes held mine, and in that moment something shifted. The way he looked at me was not typical of a nephew's affection. It was deeper, causing my heart to race. A thick silence enveloped us, laden with unspoken words. I yearned to break the tension with something, anything, but I found myself speechless. My thoughts raced while my heart beat furiously in my chest. I hadn't felt this vibrantly alive in years. Then, as if he sensed my internal conflict, Ethan gently placed his hand over mine. His touch was electrifying, sending ripples of warmth coursing through me. "Aunt Clara," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'm not sure how to express this, but I've been feeling something I can't shake." I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. "What do you mean?" I asked, locking eyes with him, his gaze filled with intensity and emotion. "I know we're family, but I've been drawn to you in a way I can't explain. I think about you constantly. The way you laugh, the way you carry yourself, there's just something about you, Clara. Something that stirs feelings within me that I've never experienced before." I was left speechless. How could this be happening? How could my own nephew, this vibrant young man, be sharing these feelings with me? And yet, as I looked into his eyes, I realized I felt the same. The emotions I had tried to suppress were bubbling to the surface, undeniable and impossible to ignore. "Ethan, I don't know what to say," I stammered, my thoughts in a whirlwind. "You don't have to say anything," he replied softly. "I just wanted you to know how I feel. I don't expect anything in return. I just needed to get it off my chest." We lingered in silence for a long moment, his hand still resting on mine. The sun had vanished below the horizon, leaving us with only the gentle whisper of the wind through the trees. My heart raced as my mind swirled with thoughts and emotions. There were still so many questions, so many unspoken things. But for now, none of that mattered. What mattered was this moment, this feeling, this unexpected turn in my life. And as Ethan's hand entwined with mine once more, I understood that whatever lay ahead, we would navigate it together. The following days felt surreal. The outside world faded away, leaving just the two of us wrapped in this cocoon of emotions that neither of us could fully articulate. Ethan continued to assist with daily chores, yet now there was an unspoken tension lingering between us. Every brush of his hand, Every glance felt charged with an electricity that ignited something deep inside me. It felt as if we were standing on the brink of something thrilling yet perilous. One afternoon, we strolled past the old apple trees on the far side of the farm, gathering the last fruits of the season. The sun hung high, bathing the fields in a golden light. Ethan stood next to me, arms brimming with apples, his shirt damp against his skin from the day's warmth. When our eyes met, the world around us seemed to freeze. The air thickened with unspoken tension, charged with the longing we could no longer ignore. "I can't get you out of my mind," he confessed softly, taking a step closer, his voice deep and gravelly. "About us. This feels insane," I murmured, barely above a whisper. "We shouldn't be feeling this way." "But we do," he replied, his tone low and filled with undeniable emotion. "And I don't want to fight it any longer." Before I could process his words, he closed the gap between us, gently cradling my face in his hands. He leaned in, his lips grazing mine in a hesitant kiss that felt like an invitation. A wave of warmth enveloped me, and suddenly, all the reasons why we shouldn't be doing this faded away. The only thing that mattered was the sensation of his lips against mine. The kiss deepened, his arms enveloping me, pulling me closer. My hands instinctively found their way to his shoulders, feeling the solid strength of his body as I kissed him back with a fervor I had forgotten I possessed. His lips were soft and warm, tasting faintly of the apples we just picked. It felt as if I was dissolving into him, every touch sending delightful shivers racing down my spine. We only broke apart when our breaths became shallow. Standing there with hearts pounding in unison, I gazed up at him, my mind spinning from the reality of what had just transpired. Yet, as I looked into his eyes, I felt no guilt or shame. Instead, I felt vibrantly alive in a way I hadn't experienced in years. "I don't want this to end," I whispered, astonished by the urgency in my own voice. His expression softened, and he grinned at me in a way that made my heart leap. "Neither do I." He leaned in again, capturing my lips in another kiss, this one more urgent and fervent. His hands explored down my back, pressing me tightly against him, and I could feel the heat radiating from him. My fingers tangled in his hair as the kiss deepened, the world around us fading away until only we remained. Just this moment. Time slipped away as we stood there, wrapped in the golden light of the late afternoon, lost in each other's embrace. Nothing else seemed to matter. His kisses combined tenderness and a fervent hunger, as if he couldn't get enough of me. I responded with equal intensity, every meeting of our lips igniting sparks inside me, awakening feelings that had long lain dormant. When we finally separated, both of us breathless, I leaned my forehead against his chest, feeling the rapid thrum of his heart beneath my cheek. His arms encircled me, holding me tightly, and for the first time in a long time, I felt an overwhelming sense of safety. Later that evening, we found ourselves on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky with vibrant shades of orange and pink. Ethan's arm casually draped over my shoulders, his fingers tracing gentle circles on my skin. I nestled into him, resting my head on his shoulder, feeling the comforting rhythm of his chest rise and fall. "I don't know what the future holds," I said softly, breaking the peaceful silence. "But I know I don't want to face it without you." He turned to me, his eyes glowing with warmth and affection. Gently, he lifted my chin so our eyes could connect, his thumb brushing lightly over my bottom lip, sending a delicious shiver through me. "I feel the same," he murmured, his voice intimate and low. "I don't care what anyone else thinks. I just want to be with you." Without waiting for me to respond, he kissed me again, starting softly, then growing deeper, his lips moving against mine in a slow, sensual rhythm that made my heart race. His hand slid up to cradle the back of my head, holding me steady as his mouth explored mine. The kiss intensified and I found myself leaning in closer, yearning for more. Every kiss was intoxicating, each one sending warm waves of desire through me. I felt his hand glide down my arm, his fingers lightly tracing my skin, leaving a trail of goosebumps in their wake. His touch was gentle yet purposeful, and I understood there was no going back now. We had crossed a threshold, but rather than frighten me, it exhilarated me. As the night unfolded, we found ourselves intertwined once more, this time without hesitation or doubt. We kissed as if we had all the time in the world, slowly and deeply relishing each moment and every caress. His hands roamed over me, exploring and caressing, and I felt the heat between us building with every passing second. We spent the night wrapped in each other's warmth, our kisses evolving into softer, more languid exchanges. As the hours slipped by, each meeting of our lips felt like an exchange of something profound, something beyond words. His kisses conveyed everything I needed to understand: that he desired me, that he cared deeply for me, and that this was more than just a fleeting encounter. It was real. It was ours. In the stillness of the night, as we lay entwined, Ethan's lips found mine again, delivering a soft, lingering kiss that felt like a vow whispered into the dark. His hand tenderly cupped my face, his thumb gliding over my cheek as he kissed me with a sweetness that seemed to savor every precious second. I kissed him back, matching his tenderness, a wave of tranquility washing over me. "I'm so grateful we found each other," I murmured against his lips, my fingers gently tracing the line of his jaw. Ethan smiled, his forehead resting against mine. "Me too. More than you realize." For the remainder of the night, we held each other close, exchanging gentle kisses and sharing quiet moments in the cozy warmth of my bed. Each caress, each kiss, felt like an affirmation that this was indeed right. We had unearthed something rare and beautiful together. As I drifted off to sleep in his embrace, I knew that whatever the future had in store, we would face it together. The days that followed on the farm felt dreamlike. While we continued our work, each moment was now filled with subtle touches, shared smiles, and stolen kisses. Every time Ethan brushed past me, his fingers would graze mine, or he would steal a quick kiss when no one was around. The air around us buzzed with a quiet passion simmering just beneath the surface. One evening, after a long day of labor, we decided to wander through the fields. As the sun began to set, a cool breeze rustled the tall grass, painting the sky in vivid shades of pink and orange. We walked hand in hand, our comfortable silence filled with an understanding that needed no words. When we reached the top of a hill, Ethan stopped and pulled me close. His arms wrapped around my waist, and he leaned in to capture my lips in a slow, lingering kiss. The warmth of his body melded with mine, the softness of his lips, and the way his hands tenderly cradled my face made everything feel perfect. Time appeared to freeze as we kissed beneath the waning light, the rest of the world dissolving around us. "I love you," he whispered against my lips, his voice heavy with emotion. Tears welled in my eyes as I kissed him back, my heart swelling with joy. "I love you too, Ethan." In that moment, enveloped in each other's arms under the vibrant sunset, I understood that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would confront them together. The outside world might not have understood our connection, but we had discovered something special, something worth cherishing. In that moment, I realized that true love was all that mattered. As we returned to the farm under the cloak of night, Ethan's lips lingered on mine, the warmth of his embrace erasing all worries. In that instant, the world outside ceased to exist. It was just the two of us, enveloped in our own universe, illuminated by the soft glow of the setting sun. His hands caressed my back, drawing me closer as we kissed slowly and deeply, without a hint of hesitation. The passion simmered beneath the surface, poised to erupt. "I don't want this night to end," Ethan murmured, his voice low and laced with desire as he searched my eyes. I felt the same longing. The bond we shared was undeniable, and I wanted nothing more than to let the night unfold without limitations. My heart raced, the magnetic pull between us growing stronger with each heartbeat. "Then let's not let it," I whispered back, my voice soft yet full of conviction. Ethan's gaze darkened with intensity, and without a word, he took my hand, leading me back toward the farmhouse. The walk felt eternal, each step thick with anticipation. Our fingers entwined, our bodies moved in perfect rhythm. By the time we reached the front door, the night had completely enveloped the farm, the stars twinkling above us, and the tranquil quiet heightened the intimacy surrounding us. Once inside, Ethan gently closed the door behind us, turning to face me. There was something unspoken in his eyes, something deep, raw, and overflowing with affection. He stepped closer, cradling my face in his hands, kissing me softly at first, then with a growing urgency. His kisses felt like promises, like confessions, and I matched his fervor, my fingers tangling in his hair as I drew him closer. We stumbled into the bedroom, our lips never parting, our bodies pressed together as the urgency between us intensified. Ethan's hands roamed over my body, sending electric shivers through me, awakening sensations I had long buried. His lips trailed down my neck, warm breath grazing my skin, and I let out a soft sigh as the heat between us ignited. Clothes were shed in a flurry, and soon we were a tangle of limbs, skin against skin, the world outside forgotten. His kisses became more fervent, more demanding, and I responded with equal passion, my hands exploring the contours of his body. It felt as if every wall between us had crumbled, leaving us free to lose ourselves in the moment. Ethan's touch was gentle yet filled with yearning. His hands traced the curves of my body with an awe that made my heart race. He kissed me deeply, our mouths moving in perfect harmony, and each kiss reignited a spark within me, a flame that had long been dormant. I had forgotten what it was like to feel desire, to be loved so wholly. We moved together as if it were second nature, our bodies finding a rhythm that felt both familiar and exhilarating. Our breaths grew shallow as we surrendered completely to one another. His hands gripped my hips, drawing me closer, and a soft moan escaped my lips as we melded into one. The outside world faded away, leaving only the raw sensation of the moment. It began slowly, tenderly, as if we were savoring every touch and every heartbeat. But soon it shifted, transforming into something more urgent and intense, driven by an unquenchable need neither of us could ignore. The night unfolded, and we spent it wrapped in each other's warmth, exploring, caressing, kissing, doing everything that lovers do when engulfed in passion. Ethan's whispered words of affection danced in the air between us, his breath warm against my skin as he confessed how much he desired me. He expressed how deeply he cared for me, and I echoed his sentiments. My voice trembled with emotion as I revealed just how profoundly I had fallen for him. We made love in a way that felt timeless, as if nothing else existed but this moment, this connection. It was passionate and raw, yet tender and full of love. Each kiss, every caress, was a reminder that we had unearthed something rare and beautiful. I cherished every second. Hours melted away, but it felt like mere moments. Eventually we lay together, tangled in the sheets, our bodies still pressed close. His arm encircled me as I rested my head against his chest. The gentle rise and fall of his breathing soothed me, and a deep sense of contentment enveloped me. The night had fulfilled everything I didn't realize I had been missing. I never thought I'd feel this way again, I whispered softly, tracing lazy circles on his skin with my fingertips. Ethan kissed the top of my head, his lips lingering for a moment before he replied, "Neither did I." His voice was thick with emotion. "But I'm so glad we found each other." His words made my heart swell, and a smile spread across my face. Looking up at him, our eyes met in the soft light of the room, and I understood that whatever awaited us, we would face it together. There was no denying the bond we had forged, no turning back from what we had experienced. It was real and it was ours. As the night progressed, we drifted into a peaceful slumber, still wrapped in each other's embrace. The warmth of his body enveloped me in safety, his soft breathing lulling me into the deepest rest I had known in years. The future may have been uncertain, but I no longer felt fear. I had discovered something unexpected and beautiful in Ethan's love, and it revived me in ways I could never have imagined. As we lay there, intertwined as lovers, I realized that regardless of what anyone might think or what challenges we could encounter, we would confront them together. For the first time in a long while, I was not alone. I had found love again, and it was more than I had ever dared to hope for.